Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this segment of our program, we have a series of questions which have come from convert Muslims or those married to convert Muslims, those who have accepted Islam. First question is a question from England. Dear Dr. Bilal, if you are a revert to Islam and you have family who are not Muslims, if one of your close family members dies as a Muslim, am I allowed to attend his funeral both to the graveyard and to the church? I would appreciate your answer on the program or in writing if you're not able to read it on the program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The question of attending the religious ceremonies of non-Muslims. As a general principle in Islam, this is forbidden. Muslims are not allowed to partake of religious ceremonies of non-Muslims, whether it be Christmas, New Year's Eve, whether it be any of the celebrations, well-known celebrations of Hindu origin or Buddhist origin or any origin, Nowruz, Zoroastrian origin, any of the various festivals, these are not permissible for Muslims to take part in. This is based on a particular authentic hadith from the Sahih Muslim, in which Prophet Muhammad, when he came to Medina, he found the Muslims of Medina celebrating a number of different celebrations. He asked them about them, and they said it was for this, it was for that, it was for the other. And then he informed them that Allah has cancelled all of these, and you now have only two celebrations in the year, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. These are the two celebrations, yearly celebrations, which Muslims are allowed to celebrate. This forbids birthday celebrations, individual birthday celebrations, as well as birthday celebrations for the Prophet ﷺ or for anybody. Now, funerals. Now, the funeral represents a religious ceremony. To go into the church and to take part in this ceremony, of course, Islamically, is prohibited. If one accompanies one's family to the church, sits at the back or whatever, outside of the ceremony itself, and then accompanies them out afterwards, or goes to the graveyard where the body is being buried, but stays away from the actual prayers that are made, or they make certain, there's a ceremony which is done there at the grave, if the people are following that tradition, and they back away from it, they don't take part in the actual ceremony, then this is permissible. It's permissible to follow the family to the church or to follow them to the graveyard, but not to partake of the ceremonies, those religious ceremonies which take place there. The second question is a question coming from Ireland. Dear Dr. Phillips, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Could you explain for me, if two convert Muslims get married and he becomes stronger than her, as one of them, the male becomes stronger than the female, and she asks to go to some places with her family, like the cinema, or to go for a meal, and he says no, does his word go? Is going to these places haram? Well, for the most part, we would have to say that going to the cinema, from the Islamic perspective, would be haram. What is being shown in the cinemas today is haram. If there was a cinema in which The men are separated from the women, so there's no mixing in that sense. And what is being shown is something which you can say is halal, it's Islamic, or it doesn't have in it any material which is offensive to Islam, then we could say permissible, but with such doesn't exist as far as I know. So when we're speaking of cinema, of course, in England or Ireland or America or Canada, we're talking about going to see the movies. And as we say, we have two circumstances. One, there's mixing. There's a mixed circumstance of people going into, which is not necessary. Secondly, what is being watched, for the most part, 99% of Western movies are filled with haram. Nakedness, women involved, men involved in illicit relationships, corruption. These are the movies. I mean, even in some of the simplest movies, which are just supposed comedies or things like this, there are all these nuances going on. So that though one may go and laugh at the comedy, the jokes that are made, the jokes may be relatively innocent. Oftentimes, though, the jokes tend to have sexual undertones. The circumstances in which these comedies are taking place are oftentimes quite haram. I mean, there will be usually some kind of illicit relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, this one kissing that one, and these kind of things are going on. So all of that is being, especially if we take our family, then we're taking them to a family, quote-unquote, family movie. Dennis the Menace, or whatever. You will find still, even in the simplest of these things, all this other body of corruption which is being promoted subtly. So though you may go and laugh at one thing, this other information is being fed into your brain, is being fed into the brains of your children. Then, we can say basically, going to the movies today is haram. Simple. I'm not saying that every single movie that's made is haram, no. There's some movies which are made, which are, maybe done on nature, or done on some very simple things, whatever. It could be quite conceivably halal. However, the circumstance of the cinema, and as I said, 90% or 95% or 99% of what is shown in the cinema today is without a doubt haram from an Islamic perspective. So, if the husband says no, then it's better not to go. As a wife, she should obey him. In terms of going for a meal, I don't see why the husband should prohibit it, but again, we'd have to look to see, on the surface we could say, no, he shouldn't really prohibit her from going for a meal with her family. He shouldn't. But then again, one would have to ask him, why? If he says, well, when they go for the meal, the father or the brother is going to, order alcohol. So she'll be sitting at the table with them, though she's only drinking her apple juice or whatever. But they're, passing around the vodka and they're drinking it up. So, I don't want my wife in that circumstance. Isn't this haram? Yes, I would say yes, it is haram. Prophet Muhammad said that the believer should not sit at a table where alcohol is being drunk. It's forbidden. So in this case, him preventing her from going for a meal with them is in fact perfectly correct, if this is the line of reasoning. So we have to look and see, really, what is the reason for his prohibition. If his reason is that he just doesn't want her to spend time with her family, then of course you have to say to him, no, this is not right. Your wife is a daughter, is a sister of people who her accepting Islam does not cancel. And maintaining family ties, even with non-Muslim relatives, is strongly recommended in Islam. Breaking family ties is forbidden. It's considered amongst the major sins. This is wrong, haram. So we would advise the brother, if he is preventing his wife because he just doesn't want her around the family, he wants her for himself, he doesn't want her to maintain her ties with the family, that this is in fact wrong. But if it is that she's going out, for example, every other day she's running out the house to go out with his family, that family member lives, and again we have to question, hey, why are you going out so much? If in her going out to be with her family, she's neglecting a primary responsibility in her home, we can say again, on the side of the brother, what you're